tell you how many women work at Valve,
okay,
or
cool.
people of color, or non-binary folks, or those who identify as LGBTQ, or disabled people, because, well, Valve is a private company and it doesn't need to disclose those numbers, and also it didn't respond to our own requests for those figures. However, multiple interviewees that we spoke to described the company as having an enormous lack of diversity, even by games industry standards. Valve is, I'm told, extremely white and extremely male.
I'm gonna tell you something right here. Who cares? Like, I hate to say it, but who actually cares? As someone who's been a proud Valve player of games and all this good stuff, who cares? Like if the lack of diversity is a problem, don't play it. I don't know why you're making a video. No one cares. And people are just here to clown, like me. They're just here to clown on you. We're just gonna clown on you. That's just how that works.
I feel like they've passed a critical mark. It used to be that there were maybe 10 or 15% women in the development teams, so nobody was usually the only woman in the room. But definitely now, I think they've dipped below that point.
Valve's structure is what makes it difficult to gain momentum on anything where the value add isn't immediately obvious to certain people, though. And that certainly includes any project where the word diversity is mentioned.
See, this is what you're not understanding. No one cares about diversity, like, period. All right? It's been gone. It was a trend. People were messing with it that realized it doesn't make money, so there's no inherent value in it at all whatsoever. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you've played, let's just say, Left 4 Dead, okay? Left 4 Dead, made by Valve. Let me ask you something. Coach, you remember Coach? Fantastic. He's still being memed and used for source film 2, making random bullshittery to this day. Rochelle, great, phenomenal character. Okay, so I don't care if the product is good. And last time I checked, they're making some good stuff. They always make some good stuff. I mean, granted, they can't count to 3, which kind of bugs me, but I mean, hey, they can't count to 3, but they made Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, and that's good enough for me. Also, on top of the other things they made.
A lot of contractors are female. That's not very unusual. The lower down the ladder you go, the more quote-unquote diverse it becomes. And the higher up you go, the whiter and male it becomes. While I was there was never more than one female programmer at the company.
So what's going on here exactly? What is it about Valve that makes this problem even worse than its similar-sized?
So, the problem is you don't understand how the world works. That's what I'm feeling like you're not understanding. Now, as a person, as a what are the buzzwords that they're using nowadays? What are the kids saying nowadays? It's not a diversity hire. Minority, there it is. As a double minority myself, again, I don't care. Again, it literally boils down to the product is good. I'm going to buy the product. Boom, there you go. That's it. But also, I feel like something that you're missing, a pivotal, crucial piece that you're missing here. If you don't have what it takes to do the job, if you don't have the qualifications to do the job, they're not going to hire you to do the job. It's really that simple. Really that simple. And if you think for some reason that's because of race and skin color, that signals to me and to everyone else that you have been nowhere, talked to no one, and taken in no type of culture anywhere you've ever been, which apparently is like nowhere. But all right then.
Games companies. Well, let's start here. As Valve states in its own handbook, it's not good at mentoring people. Nor does Valve have an internship program or a college graduate pipeline, and that's by design, because remember, its ideal candidate is a high-powered, self-directed, senior decision maker.
By its own admission, Valve only hires senior people. That compounds the issue, because part of making any field more diverse is that you have to start introducing diversity into it. Valve's not going to be one of the places that helps in that, because it doesn't hire junior people, which means your pool of diverse hires.
Why does it have to, though? Like, why are we making that a thing that it has to do? Who cares?
Is even smaller to begin with, and it's going to be so much harder to hire someone who is a woman, or isn't white, or any of the things that isn't your average Valve employee profile.
There have been efforts made over the years by various employees who've pushed to make Valve more representative of the world around it. However, I'm told these efforts are largely blocked by either the company's structure or its leadership. Take stat ranking, for example. To be able to properly judge the value of someone's work through stat ranking, you need two things. First of all, you need to have actually seen them do that work in the first place. And secondly, if you have seen it, you need to understand that work enough to recognize it as something worthwhile.
When it comes to this idea of you doing the work that you think is the most valuable, the people who usually think the business can improve by having more diverse representation are the people who are not in the majority already.
Yeah, thank God for that. I'm not a business owner myself. I just don't understand what does this have to do with making money. I don't understand. What would hiring black people do? Let's just go with black people because I am a black man. What would that do? What is hiring more black people into your company? How is that going to make you more money? Like I don't understand why that would matter. It's like, bro, I don't care if the company is 100% AI. If they're making good shit, I'm just gonna keep buying the good shit. What?
That work is exhausting and it is way less measurable. At the end of the day, am I going to get counted for doing all this work? Some people say yes, but I don't know, man. It's not like shipping a game or working on a very specific shippable feature. If you're tying your performance to how many non-white dudes you hire, that's a dangerous combination. It feels extremely insurmountable.
There was never any...
Yeah, this sounds like a bunch of I feel. And you have to accommodate my feels. And hate to tell you, it don't work like that.
sort of anti-bias training or even preamble to the process of ranking people from different backgrounds to you.
In the end,
What the
it was
fuck does that
like,
even
why
mean?
am I fighting these uphill battles and try and make the tiniest incremental positive changes when I could be doing better and more satisfying work elsewhere?
Yep.
I think a number
You
of
can leave.
people who have left recently came to a similar conclusion.
Now,
Good.
Valve is famously picky about the people it hires.
That's crazy. It's crazy. It's almost like you guys seem to care about things that aren't the games you're making. Oh no. What? Get the fuck out. Who cares?
As the handbook lays out, hiring well is the most important thing in the universe. Nothing else comes close. It's more important than breathing.
There's nothing in an overt, sinister sense that's discriminatory about the Valve hiring process, except in the way that all hiring processes select for people that are like the people doing the hiring. However, there are two compounding problems facing Valve. There's the existing demographic profile of Valve, but also the hiring process is so incredibly stringent and so difficult to pass people through, you're even less likely to get a diverse group of people at the end of it.
Oh no. They hire only the best. Oh no. Who the fuck cares, bro? You can go out and make your own company if you feel that bad about it. And it's funny and it's crazy because you guys have, and then you guys make games that no one wants, and then you go bust. Surprise, surprise.
To get hired at Valve, you basically have to not get vetoed by anybody you've encountered in the hiring process. And so you're saying the hole you have to fit through is so incredibly narrow. And there are already more middle-aged white guys in the games industry than any other group of people. So those few who make it through are most likely going to be from that group.
Multiple
No.
current and former employees tell me they believe this issue is not being addressed because Valve's leadership simply does not understand it, despite the best
care.
efforts of those who over the years have really pushed for people to take it more seriously within the company.
It's not that they're knowingly or explicitly sexist or racist or homophobic or anything. It's just bias. They think, why bother doing outreach to some other population when we know the only thing that works is hiring people just like us?
And I do think all of this contributes to Valve's issues with
guess.
diversity. There are certain barriers here which are just harder to overcome if you don't fit this mold that Valve has always had. And so when it comes to taking big, ambitious swings at projects with harder to quantify returns on investment, Valve has been able to step boldly into the world.
Ooh, hold on. Harder to quantify? I mean, that might have been, you know, correct, what, 10 years ago? Now it's not. Like, if you're going to push for diverse hires, you're also probably going to push for some dustborn-ass shit in your game, and let's just say no one likes that. You know what I mean? No one likes that, and the people that say they do, They only say that to get points on Twitter. And I mean, if you don't believe it, you can just look at the Steam charts for all the games that are made for the modern audience, and they all just happen to be garbage and all happen to not be worth buying anymore. Or at all. So, but oh well.
World of virtual reality and hardware manufacturing, but employees say that that same belief, that same trust, isn't also being applied to making Valve.
Oh. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so if you see this, and all of a sudden you have a problem with, again, this, I feel like there's something more wrong with you than anyone else. 'Cause I'm not gonna lie, if I walked into a building and I saw this, I'd assume that they're like frisbee golfers or some shit, bro. Like, come on now. It's really not that big a deal.
Of a more diverse employer.
If it's an issue that the people in power also understand fully, then they make all sorts of accommodations. So stuff like parental leave. I think the people in power can understand that having a kid is hard, and so we should give people 6 months time off. But should we make it easier for people of color to join the company? They'll just be like, why? I feel like that's the dividing line. They are really, really good for employees for things they really understand.
Some of this frustration
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't get it either. And I mean, maybe it's because I'm poor and blue collar, but yeah, I don't get it either. Every job that I've ever wanted that I worked my ass off for, I got because I was who I was and not because of the color of my skin. So, I don't really understand why you would create a hiring practice that would disadvantage one while advantaging the other for the sake of diversity. I don't know. Hot take, I suppose.
spilled out into a wider discussion within the company after the murder of George Floyd in early 2020, as a group of employees within Valve pushed for the company to make a public statement in support of the Black Lives Matter movement.
No.
There was a huge amount of internal contention about whether Valve should say anything about this, because there was increasing pressure on companies to address what was going on. There were people who felt desperately passionate that Valve needed to do and say something proactive.
Nope.
And there were also people who felt incredibly passionate, regardless of their own individual political convictions, that Valve should not and must not do so.
And they shouldn't, and I'm glad they did, because it is a games company. They make games. Why the fuck are we talking about George Floyd all of a sudden? What? What the fuck is this, bro? Shit like this baffles me to the very core. It makes no sense. Like, you don't need to do this. I don't know why you would do this. I think it'd be kind of stupid if you did. Whatever. I wonder if there's going to be like another part of this at some point, because if there is, I'll probably take a look at that. But as of right now, yeah, this is just awful. This is just awful. Whatever.